when I first start, I was probably like 3 or 4 years old. My mom, she brought me to my first ballet class, which, to tell you the truth, I didn't particularly enjoy back then, as I was very hyperactive kind of child. And I think probably my mom, she brought me into ballet because she wanted me to have that kind of discipline. Maybe I was lacking as a child, because I was very, very energetic, let's say. So I started when I was very, very young. By the age of 12, I mean, I was studying like in a very normal ballet school that it was amatorial ballet school in the town where I was born. It is Naples, in the south of Italy. Very nice school, but it was for me like preparing people to go into a international kind of career. Back then, as a child, I never thought that would be the case anyway. When I was 12 years old, we had like a jury that he was coming from the outside. They came and watch our exams, and they gave me a first scholarship. It was to go to France, in Cannes. At the Rosella Hightower Ballet School. So I spent there like 2 years, from the age of 12 to 14. I was studying in France, in Cannes, in the Côte d'Azur. I was like in the south of France, and I was like in a conservatory. So practically we were with many other children. We were probably like 500 or something like that. We were quite a lot of children there in different like classrooms, and we would go like to normal school in the morning with the French children, and then in the afternoon we will have all the other classes that were more related to ballet, which would be like Histoire de la Danse, which was like the history of dance, or solfège, or maybe it was like anything that it was to do, even not just like with ballet, or we had as well like Graham, Cunningham, different modern dance, jazz, other things, character dance, Spanish dance, all these kind of things. But we had as well like music. We need to know how to play an instrument or to read the score, which was very important things than a normal child wouldn't be asked to, apart if it was a hobby that he was doing outside school. But so our education was very complete, because we would go for 5 hours in the morning in school, and then in the afternoon we had another probably like 5-6 hours of ballet training, and character dance, Spanish dance, and jazz, and modern, all those other kind of things, plus Histoire de la Danse, solfège, music, all these other things. So that was when I was very little, 12 until 14, and then I moved into Belgium, where I had another scholarship, and from 14 until 17 I was in the Royal Ballet of Flanders school in Antwerp. Yes, by then I was like living completely on my own in an apartment, which is very unusual, I think, for a teenager of 14 to live on their own. It was an incredible school. I really loved Belgium, and I loved like the school. I thought it was incredible the way how they were preparing us. And then at the age of 17, I got my first contract. So I was fully working, and I was an adult, owning my full salary and paying my tax and everything at the age of 17. So it wasn't like a normal upbringing. I suppose like in all athletes, is not only like in ballet, is if you're speaking about tennis player, football, they're all like, they would start like really early if they want to be in the elite field, so not for hobby.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, would you say that you always, this was something you always like, you always wanted to pursue this as a career? I mean, you said at first you were
Not
interested.
really. It kind of happened, let's say it, yeah, because they gave me like this scholarship, and I really loved what I was doing. When I was really young, no, I wanted to go and play with my brother, and going and play football, and maybe play with a car and things, because I grew up as a second child. I was the younger one. So I wanted to do everything that he was doing. So of course, like ballet, it was there was very high discipline from where you are little. In the beginning is quite slow, then it became very challenging, but in the beginning is more about the discipline and kind of embracing like the really like beautiful like way of moving and the listening to the music and coordination. While I think I was very I like to be a bit more active when I was young. Of course, as soon as we start like growing up, already at the age of 8 or something like that, it become like a bit more challenging. When you're quite young, it wasn't as challenging than that, I think. But then, yeah, when they gave me the first scholarship, I didn't think much about it. I think probably my parents, they kind of realized a bit more what was happening, because it's kind of unusual. Then someone gave a 12 like a scholarship to a child, more than anything else, because we were like in a little town like in the south of Italy, and we never thought about doing like a career out of it. And then it kind of happened. I started there, and then of course, because I was far away from home, I really worked really hard, and then in working really hard, then I had another scholarship. So, and then I got into the ballet company, which was very, very unusual at 17. I needed like,
all that all that hard work, obviously,
yeah,
discipline paid off.
yeah.
Essentially, you started living and breathing ballet from
Oh
a
yeah,
very
from when I was very little, very, very little. Yeah, and then I was in the Ballet Flanders for like 3 years, and then I joined the company of Princess Diana in London. That was in the 93, 92 or 93. I was in the company there, and I stayed in the English National Ballet until she was like, like she was the patron. So I've got like amazing memories, because she used to love the ballet. She gave me all my bigger promotion, and so yeah. Um, and then I moved to Birmingham, because Birmingham Royal Ballet is the sister company of the Royal Ballet, but they are like in Birmingham, in the second biggest city, like economical biggest city in England, in the center of England. And both company, they were very, very big. They used to call Birmingham Royal Ballet Sadler's Wells. And I mean, we still go in the Sadler's Wells theater to perform very regularly down there. It's quite funny, because I keep saying we still go, like I'm still part of it. And it's been like ages now, I'm not with the company anymore, but I still feel like I'm part of me will be always like a dancer, of course. Um, and I moved in the other company when David Bintley was like the director of the company, which he was a choreographer, a very talented choreographer. So I joined the company when Peter Wright, that he was the old director, resigned, and the new director came in. So I start with the new fresh start of the new company, and I stayed there until the day I retired. I loved the company there, like I loved English National Ballet, like I loved actually the Royal Ballet of Flanders. Each place, he was like incredible in his own way, and I've got many, many memories that are attached to it. And royals, especially with England, it was like the connection with the royal was very present. For example, like Princess Margaret, she was a lot with us in Birmingham. So we perform, we did a lot of things. I mean, we always have like, like the Queen coming to watch the shows and come and speak to us after show, Prince Charles, like, yeah, it was like constantly. And then, like I was saying, like I really loved Princess Diana. For me, she was an incredible woman, and I always felt like a very special connection with her. She came and promoted me like for after Romeo and Juliet. She gave me my promotion to principal dancer. So for me, is a really fond memory. Yes. So yeah.
I mean,
But I've been long time here in England now, even though I've got a strong Italian accent, but yeah.
Well, you were saying a long time. How many years were you with in Birmingham for as with the
In
company?
England, I think I've been for 26 or 27 years now. I've been in, yeah.
And as a ballerina before you retired.
I came in that I was like 19, and I stopped dancing at the age of 41. And now I'm almost 49. So if it kind of can bring it like,
And
so
that
yeah.
yeah, that leads me though also to another question, which is, when you mention your retirement, you talk about all these incredible things that you
Yeah.
achieved, and the heights that you reached as a ballerina. I can imagine how, you were also referring to athletes, elite athletes, which, ballerina, I see professional ballerinas and ballet dancers as such, because it's a sport, like it's a craft that's taken to its extreme, and it's a physical, yeah, it's a physical activity, it's a physical sport, dance. So on that note, your life is revolves so much around that when you start looking at something like retiring, oftentimes retirement, you think of someone retiring from an office job, it's in their 60s, it's their 65 or however old they are. Obviously the retirement age for a professional athlete or dancer tends to be earlier, maybe because of the physical demands or for whatever other reason. How did you approach the idea of knowing or recognizing, maybe, it's time, or I want to move into a different direction, or I was it seamless, or was there a moment where you decided?
It was very easy for me to change for different reason. I think first because I really enjoy my career, and I felt like I did everything that I was repeating, doing again and again and again the same ballet. So I think my dream as a young little girl that were completely fulfilled. I always been a bit of monkey mind. I always been interested in a lot of things. So in the last probably like 10 years, so from the age of 31 onwards, I was already like, like going to university. I was like, I did sports psychology. I was already like a yoga teacher. So it's not like I stopped dancing and then I didn't have a moment where I was thinking like, and now what I'm gonna do? I actually was interested in many other things before I stopped the career. Um, coming back on what you were saying about, like the athlete, yeah, I completely agree that the dancer, they're athlete, but they are in the same time artist as well, like a bit like a painter. So there is a very mix kind of, because they are art, in the same time it's a bit like a mixing between an athlete and an actor,
Yeah.
just like we don't have the words. Yeah. So we kind of cross both kind of, field there. But when I'm speaking about, like I remember like in my mid 20, I had a lot of injuries. A lot of
Right.
injuries I had when I was like in between from 25 maybe to 32, 33. I had a lot of injuries. And I think in that period, I think because I started so early in my career that I think I kind of burned down because I was used so much. I mean, it was incredible. It was amazing that I was doing the opening night, like in the Albert Hall opening night. Like, I could see like poster, like in the tube and everything. It was incredible. But I, by the age starting at 17 as a soloist, I never been in the corps de ballet. So by the age I arrived, like to 25, I probably had a body probably of someone that he was already 40 because I did so many performances because they pushed me so hard, which was incredible. And I'm so grateful for it because it was an incredible career and I love every second of it. But if there is any athlete out there, you know how devastating it is to actually go through an injury and thinking that maybe is the end of it. So I remember in those time, like I remember my colleague, most of them in that time, they would uh, get very depressed. And I remember I used always to find something that I love. So it was like reading psychology book or start interesting, I don't know, photography, or it was something else. It was like, okay, I cannot do that. There is no point to cry on myself. So I was doing something else, I was getting interested in something else. And I think maybe because I had that kind of interest in other things, I found something else that I really loved, which was kind of a bit, it was very, it was a progression because, like I was saying before, like one things that really was intriguing me back then, it was sometime I would go on stage and I don't know, for example, if it was Giselle, that is this ballet where the Prince Albert is knocking at the door, you are a country girl back then, and you are coming in on stage. In that point, he was knocking on the door, my heartbeat would just go boom, 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 like that. And I remember even it was in Covent Garden once, and I remember at that moment, in that split second, I had like 1 million thoughts going in my mind. I remember the music, I remember the smell of the set and everything. I was there. I had my little routine with the water, with this one, with the other one. Everything was ready. And I remember he was knocking on the door. My heart was, and in 3 seconds, I was thinking, oh my God, in the same stage, Margot Fontaine was here, and the Lynn Seymour, and this one, and the other one. I'm doing the same step in the same music, in the same theater, in the same. So many things was coming. I mean, I was completely distracted. And I
Yeah.
was there like, how? I prepare for that moment for like months to that show. And it was in one split second, my concentration could really go. Sometime I would go on stage and I felt like superhuman. Something that seemed really difficult while I was rehearsing. Suddenly I get on stage and it was really easy. And I felt like almost like the time was transforming. And I don't know, it was like, this one is called mimicry. Like you put like a dress, you become that character, yeah. And it was incredible. It really worked on me. So I was one of these people that I think, even if I got quite nervous, I remember as soon as that door opened, millions of thoughts, as soon as the door opened, it was like nothing exists anymore. And it was like this energy going in between me and the orchestra, and to the orchestra, into the audience. But someday it was just perfect. It was like nothing could ever happen, because it was magical. And the other day, there was little things. I could see people moving in the wings, things that in another show I couldn't see it. Or I could get really agitated because the speed of the tempi, it was different the day, or it was a child crying in the matinee and it would distract me. It was these little things. Or I
Yeah.
crossed the eyes of one of my peer on stage, and the poor things, they were doing like thousands of performances. I mean, we were like doing probably like, as a principal, you will do probably like 2 performances because you do a lot, but you do very concentrated. You have got a great responsibility. But if you have got a corps de ballet, they will do like all the 14 performances a week. So poor things, probably they just look at you like they are like bored, but suddenly you think like, oh my God, I'm not performing well. Why? Maybe I'm not doing good enough. Or so you have this kind of self-doubt and everything, distraction. So it became for me something that I really want to study. It was like the mind. I want to study the mind and how can I improve, like, people performance. And that is why even my thesis was about the flow of Csikszentmihalyi, which is about being in the zone, like in that a moment where everything is perfect. And generally is happening when you have got intrinsic reason, which mean you are doing for pure enjoyment. The moment it is an external reason into it, it doesn't mean that you don't do a good performance or a good like match if you were like a footballer or if you are a tennis player, but you are not getting in that bubble that is like, of this magic, like kind of time where everything transforms and everything seems like almost kind of surreal, where you have like this superpower. And I was like really, so my thesis was actually on that. It was on these autotelic experiences, And in the same time, when I was doing university, I started doing yoga as well. And I could see a lot of things that were very, very similar. Yeah,
Yeah.
again, it was like, control of the breath. Through the breath, you can control the mind. So I start practicing like a lot of yoga, which helps like improving my injuries. So I get really hooked into that because of the physical aspect. And then I saw like the mental like effect as well on it. And then I decided to become a yoga teacher. And then I was still dancing through all that, the university, and I was a yoga teacher. And I was actually teaching like people in the orchestra, people in the wardrobe, and people in the crew and the dancer. And yeah, sorry, I'm really hot. Sorry, I'm in the loft. It's getting really hot up here. So yeah, so I start like practically already another career. Let's say that even if it was part time and it was more as an hobby in the beginning, and then I start to go deeper and deeper into yoga, studying all the parts of the story and the philosophy and the way of life. And it's like a union of body, mind, and spirit. And then I start having this connection, which it was more than the body and the mind. So I'll go like from something very physical that it was with ballet, physical, then I started into yoga because it was helping me improve my performance. And then, on the mind, that it was university studying psychology, and then breath and mind, and it was with the yoga, and then got me to something, to the realization that I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm actually a perfect soul, which is something, the realization that we are so much more than what we think we are. And now I'm teaching, of course, like people to become teachers. Like I was saying, I'm a mentor for teacher that they already teacher, they want to improve their skill. And of course, the love for sport is still there, and that is why, like, I love tailoring programs, and I work mainly with footballers. I worked for a long time with the Aston Villa football club, with the men. They're in the Premier League, and then briefly now during the pandemic, I worked as well, like with the Manchester City women, which they won like no long ago, like the the FA Cup, no long ago, which is very nice. Nothing to do with me because I worked very briefly with them. So, but it was a joy, like to work in the sea as well. The different, because I think I was when I started teaching, it was mainly like dancer and gymnastic and a tennis player, and I had a martial artist, yeah, as well. And then the love from football, it always been there. I mean, my mom, she's like half Brazilian, and my dad, of course, is Italian. So the football has always been in the blood. So it always been something that I really, really loved. And so it was like a great joy for me to work with them. But I love working with anyone, to tell you the truth. That is because I think everybody needs improving like the self-care, self-development, and then of course, this is a science, is a technique. It doesn't need to be like, yeah, it comes from the Hinduism, and there is part of the Buddhism or the Jainism. There are different branches, but it doesn't need to be like a religion. It can be like a way of life. That is how I see it, is a way of life, which helped me greatly during my ballet years to improve performance, to strengthen the mind and the body. I had no injuries anymore. It was incredible. And I mean, there are so many even footballers, they use it, and tennis player. I mean, all around the world, they're using yoga. I moved practically from ballet into yoga because, to tell you the truth, I had like a yoga studio. They were saying like, can you come and give like workshops and this and that? And I did a workshop and it was sold out. And people, they were saying, why do you teach all that? No, but I'm a ballet dancer. I just do it part-time and all that. And I felt the call so strong. And I'm really happy because actually yoga improved my last 10 years of my career. So I finished at 41, but I was stronger than before because in between the 25 and the 32, I was always injured. So yoga improved my performance, which means I have like a really good memory until the last day. And then I left when I was still in shape, and I was like, and people, they were like, um, still looking up to me, let's say it, and not thinking like, I think it's your time to go. Because I think I had a very, very long career. generally like dancer, they stop probably dancing in their 30s generally,
Yeah.
because of the body, you get knackered. And I mean, I've got like lots of operation, knee operation, foot operation, had stress fracture, dislocated, like toes, everything. But the yoga fixed it all. It was incredible. So it was my duty to go out there and say like and teach like the athlete and everyone, even people that are in the business district. You can do like a better, like a great meeting. You can take a better decision if you learn how to breathe, how to control the mind. And then of course you've got your physically you feel good as well. But there are like many aspects of yoga. So it was very easy for me to move because it was a passion that grew 10 years into the time that actually moved out. And it was coming from the psychology and all that, which I use a lot anyway in my session. Yeah.
I think it's interesting how this image came to mind of the idea of you were very much the protagonist in the ballet in your ballet career. I mean, as a ballerina, you were very much lights on you, and then there's a sense of almost giving back, like the things that you learned and you have acquired, and you said you kind of answered this call to continue with and teach yoga. But I like it. There's this kind of almost coming full circle kind of idea, that image that comes up. But I also like the fact that you mentioned a lot about you said the monkey mind, that you were always doing something, you were always interested and curious about other things. And I mean, would you say curiosity is a very key thing to always try and keep your curiosity up, even when you're doing something? You might have a career going, but that is not your whole life necessarily. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, you might discover, and it's quite funny that I'm saying that, but I always say that I loved my previous career. It was incredible, but I always think that was what I was supposed to do, what I'm doing now. Even though is like you were saying a bit, I had the first 40 years of my life that it was just concentrating on improving. It was just me. It was just about me. Like all athlete, it was like getting like um, you need to improve, constantly improve. So it's all about you, and now it's about helping other people, which it really transforms. Is incredible, like um, uh, I'm enjoying in a very different way. I think probably in the youth part, maybe it was like the ego part that we all have, and joining that part that is like but it was like I had a very special relation with the public. And it was funny enough because I enjoy the physical parts, but for me, I think being on stage, I didn't enjoy this much being in the studio and all the part that it was building into the performance. The performance part, it was my favorite part because there was no one else apart me and the public. And I always felt this energy like coming through, and I could connect with them. Yeah. And that part is almost like I was taking them in that story with me. I remember seeing people in front row crying and laughing, and they were part. I made them dream, or made them like it, it was the acting part that I loved. I really loved the acting part, I think, of the ballet. Even though the physical part, it was a lot of fun, but I think the energy that I could exchange with the public while I was acting, I think that was for me like the best part. Um, but it was entertainment. Now is not entertainment. Now I feel like I can help. I worked, for example, I teach different lineages, and some of them, they are, for example, like forest yoga. We work with people that had distressed life. So I helped a friend of mine that used to be in rehabilitation in Liverpool, and he met his wife there, and he got completely clean, and now he opening his own like rehabilitation center. And I start teaching there, and they are called the fallen angels, and they perform, and there are people that they are in drug rehabilitation. They are even in Covent Garden. They've been awarded by the Queen, And I used to go there and actually give like yoga classes with them. So parts of this path is not just for having the healthy body or the healthy mind, but as well like to realize why we are here and how to improve self-esteem, or maybe an addiction, or maybe people that they are in depression. I worked with people that they are suicidal, people that they are, all kind of things. So it's not always just like singing the om and, like living like, sometimes people, they can think that is the person that is sitting and is in meditation, but sometimes is like hands-on. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and it's like really going and helping people and speaking in different analogy. For example, the lineage of Dharma yoga is completely different. It's very, very spiritual lineage. And the one of forest yoga is a bit more like, grounded. And the analogy and the way how you speak in different classes is very, very different. Of course, if I teach the athlete, it will be very different that if I'm teaching like in a shala, where like people come and we do chanting and all that. Is a completely different public. So different people need different things. And I think as a yoga teacher, we can guide people, especially if we have got a training that is a multi-lineage training. We can help people in different phases of their life, or if they've got any different issue. We are not doctors, we are not psychologists, we are not physiotherapists, of course, like we are just like a guide. Yeah, we are like a guide them with the breath, with the introspection, so like living in integrity and being aware of the thoughts, and giving them technique, breathing technique, and technique to controlled minds, which they are much harder to learn than the one that they are physical. And the physical technique, you can see them on the body, but the result that they are on the mind, they're much greater and long lasting as well.
Gosh, I mean, thinking about the fact that, I always keep going back to, the fact that this second career started out of something that had so much. I mean, that you were talking about discipline before when you said, you probably started because your mother was probably trying to help instill some discipline that maybe, at a young age we all would rather be doing other things. But this is something that as a profession, the discipline behind being a professional athlete, professional artist, but a dancer is I would say, it's paramount, and it's very, very it's extreme. And so I be interested to know how much of, you talked about the monkey brain, you talked about the fact that your curiosity for other things as well, and also the way that like yoga linked in with helping you in your dancing career and your career as a ballerina, how you approached everything not just out of curiosity, but completely. Like, I mean, you threw yourself into those things that you were interested in. How much do you think
you need I think you need the determination, and you need the discipline, and you need the creativity, but you need to have a great passion for what you're doing. I think if there is no passion, this internal fire, that I think I wouldn't say to succeed, but to have a fulfilling, like, not career in a way that you are famous, that you are owning a good salary, in a way that you feel that you feel a satisfaction that is inside, because you know that is exactly what you are supposed to do, and I'm sure I could probably have done things that they were like, I could have had a better material life, but that kind of life, I love it, because I'm following what we said, my dharma, because my dharma is to actually in that point to help people and to share whatever, you know, um, I learned from different career, like to give to other people so that they can enjoy their career more. But definitely curiosity, but I think not in the way that you keep switching from one things to another one. I think I had big passions, which was like ballet, and then it was like, you know, psychology, and then going to yoga, because one thing is hobby is very different, but if there is something that is taking your heart, even if you are like in the financial district. I had actually quite a lot of students that they were like financial district, and then they become yoga teachers. They probably don't have the high life that they had before, but they are doing something that they know, they feel good. They feel good
Yeah.
because they know that is what they were supposed to do. So
That's,
I know many people that they actually give up all that to actually do it like a quite simple life,
so you say it's
which
more.
often make you happier, like a simpler life, to tell you the truth.
Well, I think that's sort of the anxiety that a lot of people, especially nowadays, you know, with the idea of we are surrounded by many material things, and sometimes our success is sort of balanced up with how many physical things do you have, or what, you know, your wealth is, and all this. So, you know, you would probably, you know, would you suggest that it's about trying to sort of sit down and actually listen to yourself and try to work out what it is that makes, I mean, we say makes you happy, but actually that really interests you, and maybe not be scared to start even taking it up as I say hobby, because maybe, you know, you are working in the financial district and you can't actually
Yeah,
just job immediately and switch over,
exactly.
but entertain the idea that there is more than just what oftentimes we are told is, you know.
Of course. And we identify as well. Maybe from when we were little, they say like, you will be a doctor. Maybe you're a very good doctor, but it's not your passion being a doctor. So
Yeah.
sometime later in life, you can find what is your real passion. So I would actually say, don't be scared if you feel that something is really what you're supposed to do. You know, we're here for that in this life, you know. And I think it's fear that stop most people. Of course, when I go from one career to another one, it was very hard for me. You know, I had like a big career. I could have gone easily in the same career, probably as a teacher or a director of a company, which they actually offer me when I stopped dancing. But I say like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do that,
Or
with the
you.
great disappointment of my parents, to tell you the truth, like, you know. But I knew I want to do that. I knew it, even though in the beginning I couldn't pay my rent and I was really struggling, but I knew that was what I really wanted to do it. So I would say like, you need to follow your heart as well, but you know, a passion is very clear. You know it. It's not just a hobby. You just know that there is something else that is calling you. And sometimes you can see people that they probably do the all of their life to maybe they miss out what they're really supposed to do. So I would say like, you know, even though if they've got a great job. So it's not, it's hard to change career. I'm not saying that it's not hard. It's very exciting. But then again, you can see the glass that is half empty or half full. Only depend on your mental attitude. That is what. So I suppose it's all about mental attitude. And if you see something that of course is challenging, or it can be scary, it can be exciting or scary. It
Of
is
course.
challenging, but you can see it like scary or like really exciting. So it's up to you how you want to see it.
Yeah.
And if it's worth, then yeah, you just embrace it and you go for it. And most of the time, if you give 100% and you're supposed to go on that path, then the universe kind of, you know, like align. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I suppose now more than ever in this specific moment, pandemic and everything seems to be shaken up. It seems I have been hearing a lot of people who have maybe because they've been forced to maybe work from home more, or they've had more time on their hands, or out of other necessities, have changed things in their life. They've been forced due to an outside circumstance to change things in their lives. Be it work, be it lifestyle. Do you think you could see that as kind of being like the silver lining of this crazy situation, as being maybe a way, like it's been a catalyst for some people to look
I
at
mean, people that had the time to actually, well, I think in this pandemic, probably people they did one of the two things. Either they looked inside, or otherwise they were on the couch watching TV. It was one of the two things. But I think people that had time to actually spend more time at home, they probably realized that they don't need to travel as much, and maybe they can change a lot of things. We had the time to see what's really matter and what was very important. I think we are in a very important time of our life. I think this year in between the pandemic and the lockdown and spending more time, it make us understand what we want and what we really don't want. Because I know it's been like, a point for people, a breakout point. Either you completed, a lot of people, they move out into the countryside. I move out into the countryside, but move out in the countryside as well because we have a little puppy which we actually go and pick up today. So we're like very, very excited about. So we need to give a bit more space. We want to be closer, to the nature. And we were a half an hour from Houston, and now, of course, we are like 1 hour by train until Marylebone. Is much longer. We need to drive to the closest city because we don't have even not a post office here. But so a lot of people they did move out, from the cities, and there been like quite a lot of change. A lot of people they start doing yoga because they had more time on their hands. And I see a lot of people they become like a regular, even like on Zoom. I mean, I actually worked more than ever, to tell you the truth, with the athlete and with
right.
like the normal public, because they had more time. So they were cutting all the time that they were going into the tube, going into the studio, and then take shower and all that, all the rest. They took long time away from families. So people they were more willing to doing an hour and a half. It was exactly, they could be in their pajama if they wanted. They can jump in their own shower at home, and like they can put like something to cook while they're coming and do the class and then go. So it was very easy for people to come and do the classes. So it was quite a busy time. And for the athlete it was the same, because they weren't like at the club, so they were like asking even more to they had a bit more time to do the extra bit than generally they would be a bit more secondary to their, like, which not always they're secondary, because control of the breath and the mind, I think, is one of the most important things. And it is what I try always to teach, because I still like teach yoga and normal classes as well, like to ballet dancer, not as much. Generally, just the people that they are doing as well yoga, then would do it, or otherwise if they're preparing for competition or something like that. But the first things that I teach them is to breathe. And it's something that people they don't teach athlete how to breathe. They don't teach people in general how to breathe, and it make a huge difference. Just the awareness to the breath, or extending, or like controlling the breath, and it does an incredible like effect, because we have two hemispheres of the brain, and if we are feeding one hemisphere or the other hemisphere of the brain, we're actually activating. We can go into parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system. We can count down the heart rate, or we can speed up so that we are a bit more awake. So there are incredible techniques that we can use all the time, Yeah.
I was thinking, if connected specifically, I guess, to yoga, would you also say that for people who maybe do want to, like, I'm sure there are also people who like, I'm not completely satisfied with what I'm doing, but I'm not entirely sure what my passion is. I don't really know what to start looking where. In a way, I was almost thinking, because you were saying, with the tools that yoga gives you, even the way just to sort of slow down and breathe and kind of reconnect. Would you say that it can even be used as or it is an effective tool, can be used as an effective tool to even help someone try to work out what it is that they could be passionate about and might actually, potentially start seeing as something, as an alternative to maybe a career that is maybe giving them, as you said, all the maybe the financial material needs, but not fulfilling something else that's more
Yeah.
important.
Yoga, like we were saying, like which is not just the physical part, but is like a very like complex. There is like a lot of different steps that you're taking into the yoga, but of course, like in the part of just the breathing technique, which is probably the less uh, uh, let's say it, the one that people they do the least probably in the studio, but is the most effective one. So just some breathing technique and concentration or meditation technique and a bit of physical activity that will actually help stimulate and make them people being um, feel better with themselves, so more confident as well and clearer. Yeah, because then what's with the breathing technique, what we are doing, and with the concentration technique, we are clearing like the mind from thoughts which they're unnecessary. Yeah, in that point you can be a bit more clear. Of course, I think people probably they should write down like things that they like to do, and they need to be probably need to stop, and if they really don't like something, they should say that I don't like it, and because, so what is my next step and what do I really like? Maybe if they didn't find yet what they really like, maybe they need to gain a bit more like zest for life. Because I think when uh, um, sometime most people they we probably go into a work because it's giving them enough money so that they can pay the rent, and we know that we all been in there, yeah, in one point or another one, that is you don't completely love it but it's paying the bill. Yeah, but that can be for a certain amount of time, so very slowly maintaining what is giving you like like the security, slowly starting to understand what it will be, what are you good at, what are your quality, writing down what are your quality, for
Get some.
example. Yeah, so what are your quality? It could be like I really good in waking up early in the morning, I like helping people, just put down what you are good at. Yeah, and then see how those skills they could be useful like in another career, and maybe you could have a second person, but like when you are saying yes, doing like breathing technique and concentration technique, it will help clearing up a lot of of unnecessary thoughts, which they are just clustering, and they are like making us very confused. And when the mind is calm, we know exactly what we're supposed to do, because is everything is in there. We know exactly what we're supposed to do. We don't need someone else to tell us. But if the mind is too loud, we can listen to the heart. Yeah, and the heart, our soul, is telling us exactly what we are supposed to be or to do in life. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
I hope it helped.
but it bypasses also all the, as you said, societal and sometimes also family and cultural
Of
obligations
course.
that people feel that they need to fulfill.
Living in integrity as well, because I remember when I stopped dancing, and when I say like I really want to become a yoga teacher, I remember my parents, they were completely against it. And they were like, why would you want to throw away all of these years that you just did to start from scratch from something that is not giving you security, this one and the other and the other and that. And I was like, well, I feel like it's very important to me. I knew it, but so is recognizing, but you can feel that call, you can hear that call. And living in integrity mean, unfortunately, the society is telling us what we are supposed to do, what we are supposed to have, what we are supposed to act. So it's going beyond all these things. What make you happy? I mean, really, what does make you happy? Does it matter how much you own? Not really, but like, does it make you happy? No. Then maybe you should do something that will make you happier, because um, we're here to do the most out of it, in a good way, helping people as well, not just like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Absolutely.
and yeah, I like how you broke down that it's, especially with people who sometimes think, I've spoken to people like, well, I don't have a passion. I mean, it's sometimes they say, oh, it's almost easier not to have that passion because you don't have the suffering that comes with, oh gosh, I
Yeah.
can't do what I want to do. But I sometimes feel that that has only so much mileage, because you work, you're doing what you feel society expects of you, or is, vice versa. And then you will maybe hit a wall at some point because your life has been devoted to that thing that now has, yes, given you everything you physically want, but hasn't fulfilled anything inside. And the thing that you're saying about being very scientific about even just what am I good at, without even putting like attributing, well, that's worth it, that's not worth it. You just put all the things that
Yeah.
are in that you can recognize that you are good at, and see what that can feed. Because I think sometimes people get very stuck on the, I need to have the answer now, I need to know what it is now, and if I don't know, then I might as well just stay on this course because it's easier. I think that's I think it's a tough process, because sometimes people find,
It's tough, but it's like a self-study, in the way that things, they will not drop from the sky. So you need to actually like study yourself and understand what is your call, because we are all good at something, but if we don't recognize it, we are going like in the wrong direction completely, even though if we can do well that work. And but it's hard to especially there are some people. Then I remember when we were little, I knew it very at a young age what I wanted to do. My brother, I remember, he was going to uni. I was like, I'm not too sure what I want to do. And, I mean, I'm studying that, but I'm not too sure. So a lot of people, maybe they go into work, maybe because the father or the mother, they were already in that kind of work, and that is how they should be, but they don't follow really their own hearts. So they are not pursuing something that is exciting for them. And if something is not exciting, you cannot have the passion. If you're not doing with the passion, you cannot enjoy it. People around you, they are not enjoying what you're doing either. So you can be good at it. I mean, if it's a computer work and you have got very high skill, it's kind of okay if you don't have interaction. But as soon as you have got interaction with other people, there is an exchange of energy. And if there is no passion, you can be as good as you want at something. But if they cannot feel that passion, I don't think it really work. So depending which field you are. But it's exciting. It's not scary. It's
yeah,
exciting. And if you don't see it as exciting, then it will be like a great task, and it will be always, oh, what if maybe I shouldn't have done? And if you have no doubt, you just go for it and you do the best of what you can do. And it's
yeah,
the only way that I can see, like, moving with excitement into something new,
yeah.
and do the most out of it.
Very quick question, regarding age, because a lot of people go, oh, I'm too
Yeah.
old to do this, too old to do this. Would you say it's never too late if it's your
It's
passion?
never too late, never. I've been training people at the age of 60 that they are becoming yoga teachers now.
Yeah,
You're never too late. If you have the passion, if you're good at something, it depends on what. I mean, of course, if you're going like maybe in a firm and they like people, they are a certain age, they're like, it depends. But if you feel the call and you're good and you're self-employed and you know you can do it on your own, and there's not someone else giving you the work, because of course, with when you're self-employed, is harder, but it's easier in the way that you can manage yourself. So
yeah,
if you put the effort into it, there is no reason why you wouldn't do good. Yeah,
yeah,
you've got no. But then again, if you don't put the efforts, you are the only person that you would blame, like
Yeah.
because there is no one else there. Yeah,
Same way you'd blame yourself if you never went for it and you keep on
yeah,
thinking, what if? So
yeah.
yeah,
And
there's
that is worse, I think. If you arrive at the end of your life, you're thinking, what if?
and that's a good that's I think that's a good note to end on, that it's never too late, and do not settle for what if, because
Of course.
you only have the one life, and to live it to the maximum in every way possible.
And spread joy around, because if you're not
Yeah,
enjoying what you're doing, then there is maybe no point to do it. So
that's true.
go out there and go and chase it.
Absolutely. Ambra, we have come to the end of our chat. Thank you so much. It was so lovely to talk to you. And well, at this point, I wish you a lovely evening over in the UK. And well, virtual face to face will be back soon with a new uh, conversation in the coming weeks.